Hey folks, welcome to Fiddlehead Fiddle Lessons, doing this one from the back patio. While I'm still here in LA, my future's uncertain at the moment, but it's all good. So I'm gonna cut to the chase and give you the central idea is that you alternate between playing the chords for a small piece and playing the melody. Key is to do it with a small enough piece that you can really do what I call micro practice. You can really get on top of something, really go deep with something, whereas if you're doing the whole piece, you're gonna kind of stumble a lot along the way and you're not gonna go as deep with and kind of get into that state of musical flow. So I'm gonna give a few examples of how to alternate between playing the chords and playing the melodies. By the way, I'm not going to go deep into how to play the chords or the theory of the chords because I have tons of other lessons on that, on chord backup on the site. And I'm actually building that out now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So what I want to do now is just give a few examples, and I'm going to use play-along tracks from the site to show how to practice this. However, you don't need to even be a subscriber to Fiddlehead to use this practice. In fact, you don't even need to be a fiddler, I think. You can, if you play any chordal instrument, you can practice it with that too. So let's get into it. So Kerry Polka. We're gonna look at this second quarter with a play-along track, D3. All right. And so the chords for that will be C, do, 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 and then to D. Do, do, do. And so the basic idea is you just alternate between the chords and then the melody. Let's do it with the play-along track. It might make a little bit more sense. And part of the thinking behind the way I teach is that I give you learning chunks, little bits that you can practice, smaller bits than just always practicing a whole tune. So that helps you to learn the given tune, but what I really want you guys to get is learning how to practice anything. So if you learn a tune on your own, I want you through doing this process to learn to break down tunes into small bits. Always, always, always. I still practice this way with the things I'm learning. So here we go, Kerry Polka with a play-along track. 3, 4. So starting with the melody. Now I'm gonna play just the chords. C, D, and back to the melody. C. You can do more bows. Melody, a little faster. Let's use hoedown now. D. Melody. Chords with hoedown. Okay, very cool. So that's the basic idea. I'm just going to give some more examples now to help flesh it out. Let's do the tune Arkansas Traveler. We're going to do the first quarter of the tune, which is okay. And the chords for that are going to be D, in this case G1 and open D, to G, which is open G and D in this case. All right, so our chord progression goes da 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 da. So D, E, G, D, D. So So that's the piece we're going to cycle. We're going to alternate between this, on this little phrase, the first quarter of the tune, we're going to alternate between chords and melody. Or you can start with melody if that's easier for you. It doesn't matter. The idea is to just get into this alternating loop. I call this kind of a loop, a practice loop. And this is a lot of how I practice. And a lot of lessons like this one that you're watching, that I've been doing recently, are really, when I practice, I take little notes on all the little things I'm doing, and like, maybe I could share this. Maybe like, it's all stuff that I took for granted that during like the last year and a half in pandemic and lockdown, I've just been practicing more and thinking like, how could I translate how I practice so that anybody could do it? So that's kind of what is going on with this whole series of lessons. Another one, for example, is fiddling with transposition loops. Okay, such a music nerd. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do the first quarter of Arkansas Traveler with this process, and then we'll do one more tune, we'll do Swallowtail. So, 3, 4, melody. Now chords with hoedown, D, G, D, D, and back to melody. Chords. You could do other patterns too. You could do like chops or bouncing. Kind of like a train there. All right. Again, I'm not going to go deep into the rhythms, or this is mainly about this one particular practice. And by the way, you can learn just a few simple chords and really play a lot of music, because a lot of folk music is centered around fiddle and has a very limited number of keys, G, C, D, A, corresponding to open strings. And so, well, C's not an open string, but anyway, you get the idea. There's not a lot of, if you learn a handful of chords, literally like 10 chord shapes or, less, you can play lots of tunes. I want to encourage you to try this. Okay, so let's do one more tune. Let's do Swallowtail Jig just to mix it up. So it's an Irish jig, right? And in Irish music, you don't see a lot of fiddle players playing chords. Just a caveat there. But why not? Why not use it as an example? And I believe we are fiddlers. We're always fiddling with things, like how can you apply something from old time music to Irish music? Why not? Who's stopping us? So maybe the fiddle police will come bursting in here at any moment and arrest me for playing chords on an Irish jig. We'll see. Okay, here we go. Swallowtail. So I'm gonna do the fourth quarter of the A part and the B part. The chords for this part are D major to E minor. All right, and the shapes are G1 and D, open D for D, and then open G and D1 for E minor. Very easy shapes. Single finger, just my index finger. Yay! And same thing, I'm gonna alternate between the melody and the chords, and I'll do two different rhythms now. I'm gonna do simply dotted quarter notes, which would be like basically long notes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. And then I'll also do triplets. So let's get going. Swallowtail Jig, fourth quarter. Chords, D, D, E minor, E minor. Back to the melody. Chords, D, E minor. One last time. Melody. chords again. Helps to double up sometimes, like do 2 melodies and then 2 rounds of chords. Okay, cool. So I should have just barked that out in the middle of playing. I'll say it again. So when practicing anything and you're doing repetitions of things, sometimes it's useful to just double up each cycle. So in this particular practice loop that I like to refer to these as practice loops, in this particular one we're going between the chords and the melody. Well, you could do the 2 rounds of the chords and then 2 rounds of the melody, and or more if you need. But the idea is maybe you need a little bit more time, especially if the chords is a new idea to you. You may need a few extra times with it. I'm finding with the music I'm learning, which is right now I'm studying like Appalachian round peak music, that I sometimes need multiple repetitions when doing these kinds of alternations. So that's the basic idea. And then one last idea is that if you're interested in playing backup for singing, you can basically do the same practice. Like some bright morning when the life is over. So I'll Fly Away is a song. I teach it in G. So G to C would be our chords. So you could basically practice singing some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away, and then do your chords. G, G, C, C, G. Some bright morning, and then alternate that way. Now the cool thing about singing and alternating between singing and playing the chords is that if you really get good at it, then you can make the leap to hyperspace speed and do them at the same time. So some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away. Right? So that's it. That is quite a difficult step if you haven't done it before. But a lot of the idea of micro practice, which in other, it has also been described by the term deliberate practice. And I'm not going to go into why I call it something different, but part of the idea is you separate out your hands, or you separate out the different tasks. So if you want to sing and play, you don't just jump into singing and playing. You work on your chords and work on one little section and then work on singing that section. So in order to do it, you really have to focus on the singing, focus on knowing the words and so forth. So I just want to close by saying that I gave examples of play-along tracks from the Fiddlehead site, but I want to emphasize you can do this with any tune, any instrument, whoever you are, wherever you are. You know, just figure out the chords. And just make a little practice loop that way. I have one more thing I wanted to say, which is that on the Fiddlehead site, I'm leading group lessons now, and I recently did one chord backup. And so anyway, I just wanted to mention that to you that well, I'm learning a lot about how to teach chord backup through doing these group lessons, and they've been a lot of fun. So if you are interested, check out the Fiddlehead site. Plug for Fiddlehead. All right, and thanks for watching. Let me know if you have questions. If this is helpful, then ring the bell, hit the like button, the notification bell, all that good stuff. And thanks for watching. Go to fiddlehead.com for a progressive step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.